Welcome to Freshwave. Welcome to Freshwave. Welcome to Freshwave. Welcome to Freshwave.
Vocal cords. But yeah, I was watching a documentary too by this channel called Folding Ideas. And he had two videos that really kind of just like he's definitely comes off as a cynic and a critic, but you need that. That's kind of why I brought up the topic of should we teach, just question ourselves, should we teach Web3 to kids? And by Web3, I kind of mean how it's defined by, like blockchain. Really it's like two main features, blockchain AI.
Right.
The defining features. I would go as far as to say parents will run into some concerns with some of the traditional games they've always been concerned about, the Fortnites, the Call of Duties, and VR as well, which is a component of Web3.
Right.
But all that stuff around, just responsible ethical practices as far as teaching kids these tools,
Now it's a great question, and I think it's also an age-old question as far as when do you expose children to new technologies? We've been there before, so they should teach their child Web3. My response would be, well, should you teach your child Web2?
Yeah.
And the question is, the answer is, well, absolutely yes. But you should absolutely be aware of how, when, and where, and with whom they're engaging with. So it's the same thing for me to say, don't teach children Web3, including crypto, is setting them up for failure and a disadvantage moving forward, because these technologies will be ingrained in their everyday lives. And it's better to have an understanding than to not. But as I speak out loud, I see a correlation to sex education. When do you teach your child sex education? Because I think most of us agree the answer is not to not teach them sex education at all. It's just a matter of making sure the lesson is appropriate. They're aware of the different engagement strategies, the risk, and also mature enough to handle the content.
Right. So I guess it's like, I think, as far as level setting us, as far as where we are now with kids in tech and how it's marketed, it's all listed as positive. It's all listed as, a thing that, all children should be, engaged in. But, again, just kind of being a contrarian, it's like, is it, has this push for kids in tech, has it had an impact? Have we seen any kind of feedback on how effective these, programs have been, or the effort has been meeting demand? Like, I haven't seen anything critical about it,
Right. As far as general impact, again, I would say that's an absolute yes. And it would be almost ignorant of us to expect non-impact or a lack of evolution as we continue to engage with tech more. I think it's part of a natural process. We're evolving as a society, and tech plays a role in how we communicate with each other, and how we interact with each other. And personally, I think it's okay for those changes to happen. But again, just like children, as adults, we have to be aware of, just responsible methods and keeping a balance of virtual time versus real life time, because I think certain things, again, don't change, where human connection and real life connection will continue to be absolutely essential up until the point that we reach the apocalypse, or or that dystopian future. But up until then, there will always be a need for um, in-person school workshops and lessons, or live events or social gatherings, in addition to the virtual ones. And I think, just as another thought, children, they're probably more accustomed to go to that virtual lens first because it's so accessible, and the real world around them tends to be somewhat dangerous or limited based on their parents' availability. So again, I think it becomes not a matter of restricting that time with digital or virtual engagement, but rather parents, educators, and communities being conscious to allow opportunities for balance and to encourage that balance.
Yep. Yep. Because I think what I'm doing is I'm kind of checking. I'm really checking myself here because I'm an unabashed futurist. I think by putting the tools of science and creation in the hands of children in general just creates a better world. People, they look, being a scientist, being an inventor means to ask questions. And we live in a society where everything is asking you not to ask questions, just to consume and buy and conform. So yeah, so
Absolutely. And in addition to that, the idea of asking questions and I guess being adventurous and inquisitive like that in your mindset, I think it's important for us to, as adults, leaders, teachers, parents, it's our responsibility to remember what it was like when we were children, and not wanting to be restricted in our dreams, or not wanting to be um, looked down upon for engaging with whatever was new and exciting to us. And we owe it to kids to do the same thing. The fact of the matter is that as technology continues to innovate and develop in real time, the truth is adults, we become the late adopters. Sorry, not sorry.
right,
So the fact of the matter is that children not only have the capability, but probably the inherent position to understand the future of this technology way better than we do. So who are we to stand in their way?
yep, yep, yep. Let's kind of outline what the benefits of you know getting into Web3, which kind of again includes traditional web design, programming, development, with the addition of understanding what decentralization means in the blockchain, how AI is not just what it is as technology, but like what its impacts are on technology. But I think again, but regardless of what people's opinions are, it's going to drive the economy. It's going to drive um, technology, jobs, engineering. So yeah, I think it would be foolish to not introduce, again, for children that are interested in this field, um, not to introduce them to these tools and show them how to use them responsibly.
Absolutely. And I think you started on a good point, just really understanding the nuanced differences between Web 2 and Web 3 to maybe not make it so scary. So, again, the truth is, Web 2 and Web 3 aren't that different. It's more so uh, a different visual representation of data and content. As far as in Web 3, you have more 3D and immersive virtual components. You also have the ability to do financial transactions quicker
Mm-hmm.
and from peer to peer, with the option to eliminate third party transaction companies in Web3.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you get into the crypto and blockchain aspects of it. But again, to just highlight how really Web3 is more of the same, and particularly for again, parents, guardians, and educators of students, anyone who's been interacting with video games over the last decade has essentially already been in Web3. The idea of the paywall in these new subscription based games, or games where you're earning reward PG model. That's essentially what Web3 is, and those elements of that gaming environment is just expanding into the regular internet at this point.
Correct.
So again, more of the same. If you've ever given a child a credit card to buy something on Roblox or Fortnite, well, guess what? You've already supported their engagement in Web3.
I think that's going to be like right now in the news. You have inventors like Elon Musk. Uh, I think Lex Friedman, who's a programmer, speaking on maybe opposite sides of, it's just kind of hilarious. Like, put a stop on AI. Like, it's almost laughable. I mean, again, it's like they're, especially Elon Musk. He's taking advantage of a market and a society that promotes like his innovation. Like in his early days, he was really hype. His underground tunnels, the Tesla. Like he was until he got to political realm. He was treated like a tech god. Like how they treat these inventors. And now he's telling us to pull. That the halt innovation that some would see, and some would kind of see him as a hypocrite. So I don't know, what are your thoughts about like that?
Rephrase that for me, just as far as like these innovative leaders or thought leaders that sometimes get perceived as a hypocrite. Is that?
Yeah, actually, let me pull it back even further. It's like social, the movie The Social Dilemma. Again, it's like the market demands that we create innovation, we push it, but we don't really see the unforeseen problems inherent until later. So when we are talking about Web 2 for social media, we have the mental health crisis here in America and probably across the Western world, specifically with social media affecting girls, and so and again for the algorithm for self deletion rates, and same for I think it's for boys and girls. In video games in particular, some of the downfalls have been isolation or men kind of cutting off because the video games give them a false sense of addiction because they're so good. So I guess all I'm really saying is like there's, I think, in promoting to children about tech, I don't think it's been respecting their intelligence, and engaging with them in a way that's like honest about like the effects of we're going into AI, we're going to the future, but should we with every step? I'll just not to be long winded. Back in the day in the '80s, when you had commercials, you had to the reason why we have public broadcasting is because for every dollar companies spent marketing the children, they had to reinvest that into educating children. I'm saying to kind of get back to that ethos of like, if we're going to promote these technologies and therefore promote these companies and putting money in their pocket, and we're bringing our children to them, that I think we should introduce, just some sort of, with every push, we also analyze and kind of just give them a critical, so they can make their own decision. Like we're not spreading propaganda for tech bros.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you use that word propaganda. That's one of my favorite ones as a self-proclaimed advertising person. Propaganda is powerful, and to take it a step back, I like to boil things down to the most simplest element whenever possible, right? So when we say things like Web3, Web2, the internet, in my mind, I boil it down to a level that says, well, these things are tools, right? Just like any other tool, just like a hammer, just like a screwdriver. just like a saw.
Hmm.
But guess what? Also, just like a gun,
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And we, as a society, I think we often trick ourselves into engaging with tools differently based on the name of the tool when we should be treating all tools the same. And the base function of a tool is to accomplish something, to help you construct something, to help you build something. But in order to construct or build something, you have to have a working knowledge of that tool. So just like you could give me a hammer and nails, and you could give someone who's a trained carpenter a hammer and nails, and we'll accomplish two different things with that same tool or those same tools. And at that point, I have the decision as an individual or my community to say, well, you know what, Daishawn, you know, we're going to put certain levels of restrictions on how you use the tools because of where your working knowledge is, but you have the ability to train and get better to have other opportunities to use those tools. So a friend might allow me to help them build a birdhouse, but a company is not going to hire me to help them build a skyscraper unless I train up. And I think at a very base function, the internet is the exact same thing. Treat it like a tool that could be used to build great, wonderful, amazing things, but also respect that tool in a way where you know it could be highly destructive if used in the wrong, in an inappropriate way.
Awesome. All right. Cool. So, what are the All right. So again, let's kind of just redefine what we're talking about. Again, we keep on going back to this because again, all this is reasonably confusing. Because we're talking about a lot of buzzwords. Like we talk about the metaverse a lot.
Yep.
Metaverse isn't really, it's a rhetorical device. It's not one place. But I think Mark Zuckerberg in one fell swoop just kind of like just torpedoed the entire concept and energy.
No, wait, bro. So it blew my mind. I was watching like Hulu or something, but yesterday, literally, a commercial aired,
Hmm.
and the narrative of the commercial was like, imagine a world where the woolly mammoths still exist and they show kids and they show like these virtual woolly mammoths and shit like in a 3D movie or whatever, and they're like, oh, a world where this so and so, and they just go through like these different regions and show these beautiful graphics, right? And it really has my attention. And at the end of the commercial, it's like, this is a world of this is the metaverse, but you get the gist or whatever. But the point is, it was a commercial by Meta. They ran a commercial
Really?
showing how the metaverse fits into the educational space, and I was like,
There you
oh,
go. There you go.
oh, they coming back. They coming back. They know what they doing.
There you go. It's really, it's again, it's yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. It is interesting the hubris a little bit, but
It is.
again, it's Facebook and it's Instagram. They control a huge market, and if they can get it right, then it would push forward the technology. So, because I will say, as a product, I think for at a student level, again, I'm not pushing any particular product, but Oculus headset, the MetaQuest 2, whatever previous price it was. I heard some rumors about the different prices, but it's under $300.
Okay.
You can find one for under $300, so it makes VR technology, which is a separate conversation that has a myriad of uses that have nothing to do with the Web3, like blockchain or AI, just in of itself. Again, as a teaching tool in the educational space, has amazing usage. Again, to capture imagination, to bring kids are trapped in a classroom all day, and you give something that kind of merges something they already do, what they're already rushing to go home to do at the end of the day, but bringing that into the classroom and making that okay, looking at it not as a consumer product, but as a something that they can create, that they can build. It's like you said, it's used as a tool. not a television.
We do. We got parents that come around and be like, stay off those video games, stay off that computer. But it's like, nah, you just need to redirect that energy. Treat them like baby Michael Jackson and be like, yo, you learning that coding or you learning how to build that game, and you get a different product in the end.
So again, so that brings us to the question, the topic we were on, which is what tools are you
Hmm.
can use. And I think again that parent-child, because again, what you gotta look at what are the concerns on both sides, right? On the parent side, they're concerned about their child's socialization, their
Right.
mental health, physical health, and all these different things. So, with every problem, we would introduce a solution. And I think one of the tools again is to, even if they're the video, video games are in physical world very solitary, in the digital world is very social.
And you can't buy a video game now without the core part of the game being online play
Yep.
with others.
Games are born. I can't even play a game really. I was playing this VR game Smash Drums earlier in this space, just kind of setting up in here, and they added a multiplayer element, which just kind of makes it way more enjoyable. And that's something to note. Through all the
Yo,
technology, that human connection is vital.
yep. And let me tell you how like either intuitive or genius these game companies are. My homies, they got me playing Call of Duty online now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's cross-platform, and that's the way that we
COD.
in touch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You be on there?
I don't be on that one. Again, Call of Duty is one of those games I got to stay away from because I just I've been playing these games since the first since Doom. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Well, the new John, as far as online play, the way they structured it is dope because you do like these mini missions, and now you could go in with squads and go against the AI,
oh
and it
wow,
might be another team there. So it's more like a campaign, a short campaign with the online engagement. So you're not just going in there and getting killed all the time, right? It's dope. I like it a lot. But this is something interesting that they did. So you can only play with at least a 3-member unit. So if you sign on by yourself, they're automatically going to match you with 2 other people, right? And I consider myself to be kind of a noob.
mm-hmm.
So I have experiences where, I'll get on the mic and you could tell people be from all over the place and different ages. And I'll be like, yo, like I ain't that good. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do my best. And I've been finding people, one, are super understanding and nice. They'd be like, cool, I mean? Like, we got you, do this or whatever. You always get a leader that arises in the group, someone who takes command, and other people who play their role with that leader. It naturally happens. But then they got another feature that they built in where if you come across another team while you're running across the AI, you could speak to them first and be like, are you friendly? Do y'all want to team up and help each other, or do you want to war it out? People make different decisions, but they allow you to socialize and ask each other, what's your intention here? Bro, it's some of the most fantastic human communication I've experienced in a long time, which people, they naturally know their roles and they fit into positions and they communicate about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, I think again, if you're not a gamer, you're listening. It's hard to understand, but if you are a gamer, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yep.
The even the insults, right?
Even the insults.
Are just like it makes it so much fun. Even being frustrated when you're on the losing side, and because then you get those moments though, like you get those. I mean, the games I primarily play, Pavlov VR and Contractors, which are both kind of just one is a clone of like I would say like Battlefront, and one is a clone of really Contractors is a direct clone, VR clone of
Mhm.
Call of Duty because we use the same Call of Duty maps. You can load in Call of Duty maps. But a lot of times we're in the lobby, you see the same people, man. It's other people with kids and families, and we laugh and we joke with each other. But at the end of the day, it's like, how I doing today? Or how you feeling sick, man? You should try this. It's like like it's it's dope. Yeah, it's community and it's dope, and it's like, but with that, I kind of like. On the other hand, though, um, you have this thing where you have a lot of children in lobbies with adults. Like, there's no way to screen that, you
Right.
know. So there, luckily, I haven't come across most of it. What I have found is in contractors where it usually happens. Probably for a lot of people, usually just mute everyone. Um,
Yep.
but in contractors, they usually like everybody kind of is well behaved. Like, okay, it's a kid in here, calm down. Like, no cuss.
Or let that kid talk their shit. I ain't gonna say nothing back because that's a kid.
Yeah, like
I've never really seen anyone like say anything weird with kids online.
yeah. But those types of games are very popular. Um, Mainly, again, I would say that there's a lot of young women, girls playing the games, but I think if we look at the stats, we would pretty much guess that it's primarily boys. So with that being that it's shooting things, being that moms don't like that, you know, as we move into, I think a lot of times they just don't know what their kids are playing, right? Um,
They see the guns and they hear the cussing and be like, "Oh, this is bad."
yeah, it's bad. And I think in VR, it adds the extra element in these times of um, is educate. I mean, dare I say, oops, do we have anybody in the lobby? We have somebody in the lobby. Sorry, but yeah, I think it was Ashley. We tell her,
Hey.
but yeah, there's is education going on about guns, um, which I conflicted. I see it as an opportunity, but there's definitely a big concern about how real it becomes. You know?
Yeah, and I mean that's just the reality of the world because it's the same way. By no means am I a gun advocate, but I am an advocate of people learning how to use guns properly if they're going to have one and be around one. You know,
Yeah.
otherwise don't. But you brought up something also I want to touch on. You was like in games, it's kind of a culture where you'll take shots at each other, right? People come at each other. And in the streets, we entered this society where if you come at somebody the wrong way in the streets, they'll go to a gun and shoot you.
Hmm.
But in a video game, you can't do that. And you know what tends to happen in video games? You hit your zone and you tend to become better. And that's how you get back at them.
Yeah.
You skills and becoming the person that don't get killed all the time. Now you got the bodies, but you just improved yourself. And is that not healthy?
Yeah.
That's healthy.
I think. I think that's what I want to see happen. I want to. I think sensational coverage about video games have been around since video games have been around. It's about Pong was like harmful to kids, at the time. So it's clearly a concern that's not just really emotionally driven and not connected to reality. Because nothing has shown. Because again, we have television and social media are far more, um, you know, harmful. Like measurably so than video games ever have been. You know, but I just kind of foreseeing those concerns. Foreseeing the concerns of how because again the technology is getting better and better and better. More companies are going to adopt it. It's going to become a consumer item, and these conversations are going to. Um, I think the tools again. Let's go back to like what the solutions are. I think one of the tools again is to bring parents into the conversation. Figure out ways to help them share. I mean, again, sharing with your children the other activities like basketball or um, some sort of activities at school. That's encouraged, right? So why shouldn't something that they really love and they feel like they're really good at? How would it affect them if their parent really took an interest, a genuine interest? Yeah. So that's why I like robotics and esports camps. I think those are really great programs because they hit a few different things. They hit the esports, especially the ones where you're moving around in VR. or encourage movement. Kind of modding these tools and kind of getting better at it kind of encourages curiosity as far as development and programming, how these things are built and how they work. And I think again, any video game, really diehard video game nerds, like they're usually nerds about something else or passionate about something else as well.